Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stern Spiel, a weekly podcast where a dad and a daughter sit down and we talk about everything happening in pop culture, our lives, the political world. And today is the Mecca for my dad and I.
It was big. It was like, for me, I'm not into sports. This is like World Series and Super Bowl.
This is the best of both of our worlds coming together, and I'm so excited to be here today to talk about it. I'm Veronica Stern.
I'm Charlie Stern at New Charlie Stern.
I'm at Veronica Stern. My dad loves to plug the Instagram. And I feel like maybe today, hopefully, we'll have some new viewers to the show. And I just want everybody to know that these are our own views. Whatever we say, we try not to be too, telling you what to think. We're just honestly commenting on what we view in the culture, and we love to talk about it together.
It's Father-Daughter Podcast, and today's a father-daughter discussion of the Trump-Kamala Harris debate, which was held September 10th, which was last night.
Yes.
So it's fresh.
It's very fresh.
Go ahead,
it happened
Veronica.
last night.
Yep.
And so for those that don't know us, I love pop culture. My dad, you love politics. And what happened last night, truly, I don't know. How do you feel? Like, what are your immediate feelings?
It's a fusion of both of those worlds, obviously. It's also, you're talking about a presidential race where there's so much visibility. It cuts across pop culture, politics, social, you name it. And these candidates have to reach across the generations in order to be successful. So it's ideal for what we cover here.
And of course, I'm alluding to what happened immediately after the debate, which is Taylor Swift coming out and putting her full support into Tim Walz and Kamala Harris's campaign, which we will get to later on in the show. But of course, I wore my Cornelia Street t-shirt today to just show that I am a Swiftie.
But let's talk about the debate first.
But wait, before we talk about the debate, I just want to acknowledge for anybody that's been listening and that follows us on Instagram, we are using mic stands today. We have let go of holding the microphones, even though 62% of people said that we should keep holding them. We're trying something else out for today.
Right.
We'll see how this goes, but let us know in the comments if you prefer this.
That was a Instagram survey you
Yeah.
did? That's a great thing. I mean, I'm amazed that there were enough people, taking enough interest to weigh in.
Yeah.
And it tilted toward handheld, which
It
I think because the podcast may be tilting a little younger, and that's a younger way of approaching it. It's not a bad way of
Thank you
doing
for
things.
acknowledging that.
No, it's not a bad way of doing things, but you lose a hand for talking, because people talk with their hands.
Somebody did say that
Yeah.
it's better to have your hands free, which I actually did agree with. So that's why I was like, let's try the microphone stands today.
So we're trying it. It has technical reasons why it's better too, because you're not
Hearing
banging
this,
in.
yeah.
You don't hear the things slapping across.
So
But
let's get right into it. Our first topic of the day, our only topic of the day, really, except we will be talking about the Taylor Swift of it all after we talk about the debate. So make sure you stay tuned for that. The debate. First things first, who do you think won the debate?
That's easy. We won the debate. Everybody who watched won, because you got an opportunity to see these different worldviews, these different temperaments, these different political positions right next to each other. Not 10 minutes apart, not 2 minutes apart, right on top. And so I think the big winner is the American people, and being able to, if you watch that, you saw with crystal clarity what you're getting. You want chaos and you want an angry old guy, vote for Donald Trump. Even if you say, well, I don't really know if Kamala Harris is, I don't really know much about her. What you saw was a well-composed, thoughtful person who comes across as a responsible individual, who could be in front of global leaders, who could make big, complicated decisions responsibly. That's what I saw. And I'm curious, what your perception was.
So when I watch the debate, I watch it as like almost a job interview for the American people, right? I've heard their talking points. I know what their sayings are. Like, I don't need to watch it to hear them talk about their policies again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching it because I want to see how they would act if they were, meeting with other world leaders.
Right.
And what their temperament is like. And is this person going to represent America? And would I feel good about that? There wasn't really a question mark for me
and it
with
wasn't
this
close.
debate.
And if you had that question before you watched and you were genuinely open to an answer, you got your answer.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely people out there that still like Trump and they're still going to vote for him. So I don't know if it swayed any of those people that are like Trumpers,
Mm-hmm.
because that is just a phenomenon that I can't quite understand. But
let's try for 1 second. You like Donald Trump because, fill in that sentence. You like Donald Trump because you consider yourself conservative.
no, but the thing is that I don't think we could ever answer that question unless we literally interview somebody that is voting for Donald Trump and truly voting for him. Because the thing is, like, I don't know how in your right mind you can go with his policies. They're just so far beyond what I believe is the Republican Party at this point. I feel like they are a different strain of the Republican Party that I guess people that vote for Donald Trump believe in. So it's not like Democrat versus Republican at this point. It's just like Democrat, liberal versus whatever Trump is.
Let me take what you're saying.
Ultra extremist.
Let me take what you're saying and like distill it in the context of last night's debate.
Mm.
Let's suppose you fill in that sentence. I like Donald Trump because of his position on immigration. Let's say that's where you're coming from, okay? What I heard last night was that the immigrants coming across the southern border, quote, they're at the highest level of criminality, right?
It's just disgusting.
This is the problem. It's unsupportable. So even if you have a conservative right viewpoint that immigration should have certain restrictions and controls and the border should be managed in a certain way and you want the wall, you can't get that conservative value system through the vehicle of a crazy, screaming old man talking about the highest levels of criminality and some of these completely off-the-wall things he's talking about, like Haitians in Ohio eating their neighbors' pets. It's just too much.
It's just upsetting.
It's
but
just too much.
The thing is, like, people believe this. That's what's so sad. And at this point, I just feel sad for people because It's like, if you can live your life with that much hatred in your heart for other people, like, that's not American. It's just not.
It's not a healthy place to be. And so if I may, if it makes you feel any better, it's look, people still need to go out and vote, right? But Kamala Harris is going to win. Right? Because there just isn't,
I want to say that you're correct, but then I walk down our street.
Mm-hmm.
We live in New York, guys, not a swing state, not a place where you would think there's a question mark around whether or not Donald Trump could win or not. You walk down our street, there's Trump flags, there's Trump banners on people's lawns, there's stickers on people's cars, women for Trump. Like, so it's a little concerning because these people are out there, and knowing that my neighbor could have watched the debate yesterday, and I live in one of the most liberal places in the country.
Deep blue state, correct.
Deep blue state.
Right.
But my neighbor could think that what Donald Trump said yesterday is Bible. It's just very disheartening. So what are your other notes on Trump's performance yesterday?
My notes on Trump's performance. I heard Donald Trump say, people can't buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. Again, here's the problem. Is there high inflation for consumer products? Yes, there is. Is inflation out of control with respect to, in comparison to where it was during the Trump administration? No, it's not. Is the grocery bill 50% higher than it was 4 years ago? Yeah, it probably is. The problem with Trump is he gets up there and he's like screaming vociferously about this stuff in a way that's self-canceling. So you just, there's no way. You okay?
I'm sneezing.
Oh, okay. No, it's not healthy to hold in a sneeze, Veronica.
I didn't want to sneeze on the podcast.
You're going to sneeze, you got to sneeze. Totally over the top, crazy stuff.
Okay.
So one of the things...
Can I say something about that really quick? My thing with Donald Trump saying all those things, and the reason why, again, I'm like, how can these people that support him look at that and be like, yep, that's what he believes? Do you think Donald Trump even knows how much... First of all, do you even think he's bought his own cereal since 1980s?
Well, that's just it.
This man is not tapped in to what is happening in the world, in the real world. The people that live in these houses next door to us, he does not care what is going on with you, which is why when I hear these people and I see these people being like, Trump, let's go, I'm like, what is it that they see that he's speaking to them?
You just put your finger on it. Because in isolation, if he says something like people can't buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else, you in isolation could align with that feeling,
yes,
but not take into account that it's being delivered by somebody who's only saying it because he wants the personal gain that comes with saying it, not to help you afford bacon and eggs and everything else.
And that's why I just feel like we have just lost the plot with politics in general. Because 8 years ago, at this point it was almost 12 years ago when Mitt Romney was running. Mm-hmm. There was a part of me when I was like, how old was I? 15 or something, you would look at that and be like, okay, well, maybe he's saying that, but he's a politician. He's been on the ground. At least he can we can have that feeling of like, okay, maybe he knows what he's saying with that, and it wasn't so extreme. But there was also like a middle ground where it's like, okay, if Mitt Romney gets elected, the world isn't going to end because he's a politician. When Trump says it, you're like, oh my God, this could mean really bad things for a lot of people.
Funny that you should mention the end of the world, because it came up last night.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Trump said, you're going to go into World War III if you elect, in parentheses, if you elect Kamala Harris.
Which is like...
Now, if that's true, we're going into World War III anyway. And who do I want there? Not him.
That is a horrible thing for a politician to say.
Right.
That is a horrible... You do not want the president of the United States, one of the most powerful countries in the world, to say... there is going to be a World War III.
Right. And here's my personal favorite moment from last night, Veronica. There was and I wasn't sure when or if it was going to come up, but Kamala Harris pursued the matter of the 34 felonies, the conviction, the
indictment.
What's it called in a civil trial? The decision where he lost the case, the civil action against him, which he lost. In the E. Jean Carroll case, she brought up all those lawsuits against Donald Trump, and he dismissed the entire thing by saying they're fake cases. So in his mind, it's like, you and I got into that argument a few minutes ago where I accused you of talking too much, and you said, Daddy, you're the one who's talking too much. That's what went on last night during the debate, because Donald Trump basically says, those are fake cases that are being brought by the Biden administration. They are weaponizing the government and going after their enemies. And I'm Donald Trump. I'm the enemy. And then if you listen to his rallies, a little bit off topic from the debate, although the rallies also came up during the debate, he says to the people at the rallies, they're coming after you. I'm standing in the middle. So then he dismisses these cases and says, no, they're fake cases. They're not fake cases. It would be impossible. Even if the Biden administration wanted to, I don't see how they could rig all these cases against Donald Trump. It's the saddest thing in the world that if anybody's falling for this, I feel sorry for them.
Dad, the problem is a lot of people are, and to them, everything he says is the truth. And what's really sad about all of this is that we have just we've lost control, really. And it's not a good feeling to not take pride in your nation. It's not a good feeling to be embarrassed of the people that are supposed to represent you. It's just like not a good feeling. And it's not a good feeling to feel like, you know, you can't be friends with somebody because they support a certain type of person. Like, it's just, we've just really lost the plot. It's sad.
I
truly.
think you put your finger on that. I think you've put your finger on some of the deep wiring of the whole phenomenon of Donald Trump. And it came to the surface in the debate last night, which is lack of control. I think that if people perceive there's a lack of control in a presidency, it's destabilizing psychologically, economically, and socially, in every other way. I broadly believe people don't want that. They're going to run away. They're going to run. And my net perception, somewhere maybe into the second half hour of the debate last night, was this is going to be very transactional. This is going to be very transactional. It's a phenomenal thing. Phenomenon. We talked about it on this show, that song by
Chapel
Rowan, and the phenomenon of the first female black president and South Indian and all that.
But can I say something about that really quickly?
That stuff is going to go into the background, because I think what's going to happen here, it's going to be very transactional.
What does that mean?
Most people don't want Trump. They're going to vote for the vice president and carry on. I think that's what's going to happen.
So what was the point of that? You're just stating a fact.
It's a little bit different than 2008 with Barack Obama, where it was like there had
the start of something new.
This very complex permission structure had to be put in place in order for white people to vote for a black person.
Oh, we're so far beyond that at this point. We're so far beyond that.
I don't think it's as much this time. It's a different thing. I think what's happening this time is it's a women-driven campaign.
I don't know about that, Dad.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Because the feeling around like it being the first woman president is like so far in the back of my mind at this point. It's like, it's more so just like voting for normalcy at this point, and like just this hope that like this is the last time that I think Donald Trump can run, and if we can just make sure that we don't let this happen again, meaning Trump being the president, we can reset something in the matrix and just like get back to the politics that is normal, where we're not watching and laughing at a presidential debate.
That's what I mean by transactional. It's just hit the reset button.
Okay, fair enough. So do you have any notes on Kamala?
So my notes on Kamala are, there was, and this is not, I'm like the 100,000th person to say this, but she took control of it early by shaking his hand and walking more than halfway across the stage to get to him and announcing herself. I think she won the debate pretty much at that moment. There is all this talk about fracking. I guess that matters a lot in Pennsylvania. That's what there's terribly.
What is fracking? Fracking
is a process of drilling through rock to release natural gas.
Okay.
So that to provide natural gas supply. It's a way of getting natural gas out of the rock. It's bad because it's very destabilizing to the environment, and the environmentalists don't like it.
So let me say my notes on Kamala in this debate. There were a few times where I just appreciated that they finally took the approach. And when I say they, I mean like her team. You know, it's not just Kamala standing up there. There's hundreds of people that get her to that point, you know?
I think so, yeah.
So you have to acknowledge the fact that they were thinking strategically. And what I appreciated is that she didn't shy away from just being like, what you are saying, you as in Donald Trump, is destructive. And it's extremely dangerous. And I was just so happy that Lindsay Davis, who was one of the moderators, just flat out said after the abortion talk, it is illegal in all of these states to abort a baby after 9 months. And I'm sorry that I'm messing up exactly what she said.
We all
but
remember
she
it.
just said it. She said it, and then she moved on.
Right.
And it was because it was a fact. And I'm
Right.
just like, I was just happy that the tone of the evening was, especially and specifically from Kamala, was, we're gonna come out here. We're gonna giggle and laugh at some of the really ridiculous things, but when it comes to policy and when it comes to the protections of the American people, it's not a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a joke anymore, and we know you, Donald Trump, you are serious about these things,
Right.
and I'm telling you, it's not true.
I think that you're looking for notes on Kamala Harris. So she damaged Donald Trump. He damaged himself for the most part. She got through this debate without a major gaffe or a major news story or an open question that needed to be resolved. I think she landed as well as anyone could possibly have hoped. I think it was very close to pitch perfect. There was a moment where I felt like finally someone got to the point where she said, and I know this was prepared, but it was executed perfectly. She said, your generals think you're a clown. I mean, maybe not in those exact words. I knew that had to be going on, and she delivered it in a way that allowed me the permission to believe that that is actually what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And at that point, yeah. I think she's done as much as she could possibly do. I think she was in a strong position to win before the debate. She's in at least as strong a position after the debate. The only weak spot I can see for that campaign is, in you and I may have an honest disagreement on this, but I think that particularly we've only really seen this Kamala Harris twice, at the debate and at the Democratic National Convention. At the Democratic National Convention, unquestionably, and it's not just me saying it, the framing was women. Now, it was not quite that last night, but there's the mild liability that there will be centrist men that don't see a compelling reason to vote. And that, black men, white men, to a lesser extent, and that maybe could be a weak spot that they can work on for the next 53 days.
Listen, I
think it's going to work either way. And here's the deal, and this also needs to be openly said. What I heard last night, particularly in the discussion that they were having around national abortion ban and the impact of these laws on women, pushing it to the states, states' rights, to me, that sounds like the Civil War. That sounds like old way of thinking about things. There need to be national laws and protections for people's human rights. That I don't know how that case ever gets stronger. It may never get resolved, which is why for a very long time it's always going to be, these issues are never going to go away from the national stage. This doesn't get resolved in January of 2021, even if Kamala Harris wins, which I think is highly likely that she will. But that's it. I mean, what you saw there last night is it's the end. I think things normalize. I think the reset button was pressed last night, and I think we're going to be better off.
So, as you said, there are 53 days now until the election?
Something like that, yeah.
Less than 8 weeks at this point.
And then what happened? Let's talk about the aftermath of the debate.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. Okay. So now we're in my neck of the woods. Let's talk about it. So do you know what has been going on with Taylor Swift and the presidential election? Like
secondhand smoke. I've heard of it from you.
So essentially, Taylor Swift, I mean, I don't have to tell people. She's the biggest person in the world right now. She is the moment, whatever. She has been vocal in the past about where she stands when it comes to politics. In 2019, she had a documentary called Miss Americana, where I wouldn't say like a major part of it, but like a part of the movie was her being like, I can't sit back and let Donald Trump win and, you know, let this homophobic, racist person win and have sat back and not done anything, you know, very much in line with the white woman, you know, guilt of 2016. She was very much in it.
The progressive wave.
Yeah. So, and obviously, you know, she's dating Travis Kelce. She's now in the spotlight more with the NFL, and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, you know who that is?
Yes.
The
Patrick
Kansas City
Mahomes.
Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. Yeah, go ahead.
So they're obviously very much in the same world now.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany, very Midwestern girl.
Trumper.
She's a Trumper. It's pretty confirmed. She liked an Instagram post like a few weeks ago, and people were like, Brittany Mahomes supports Donald Trump, and by proxy, people were like, Taylor Swift is a horrible person because she's friends with somebody that supports Trump, and like, what does she stand for if she's going to be friends with that person? So all of this has been swirling about, and people are like, it's just really messed up that Taylor Swift isn't coming out and like throwing her support behind, you know, Harris, and like it's just like been this like thing that's been happening. And then, well, there's another thing too that happened. So, you know, it's been quiet because Taylor hasn't had to be seen like directly with Britney. But at the US Open this weekend, they were obviously in the same box, and a picture started going around of her hugging Britney, and people were like, it's getting to a boiling point. Taylor, we need you to tell us where you stand. Even though it's like, she did tell people where she stood. Like, nothing changed in the last 4 years.
Sports, celebrity, politics, all coming together.
So, yesterday, 20 minutes after the debate, Taylor Swift finally, and I hate to say that, but that's, you know, that's the news. She finally threw her support behind Tim Walz and Kamala Harris.
And what's your reaction to that, Veronica?
So, essentially, as somebody that has never been in the camp of like, what is Taylor Swift gonna say? And also like not crying over the fact that like, okay, she's friends with a Trump supporter. Like, that is her boyfriend's. It's like a pleasantry almost, you know? Like, who knows what their friendship is beyond that? But like, you're not going to be rude to somebody just because they don't have the same views as you. Like, that part of everything is something that like my brain can't handle. But basically, my reaction is this. There you go. Are you guys happy? Like, there you go. She did it.
Okay.
And she did not stutter her words. She said, I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential
It was crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
Right.
Just the right amount of sass with love and hope. Taylor Swift, childless cat lady. She also finally denounced the AI photos that were being used of her by the Trump campaign.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a lot going on. I mean, my analysis of that, I'm not a Swiftie like you are. The phenomenon is that the celebrity endorsement, I mean, I don't recall ever seeing something like this. And then happening in real time, only minutes after the end of the debate.
Yep.
And a beautifully prepared statement. Was it on Twitter? Is that where?
It was on Instagram.
It came out on Instagram. Beautifully prepared statement. It had to be written in advance.
Of course.
I find it hard to believe that it wasn't coordinated with the campaign in some way.
It is coordinated with the campaign, because now on their website they're selling friendship bracelets, and also yesterday after the debate, Kamala came out to all of her supporters, and then they played "The Man," which is Taylor Swift's 2019 song. So everybody that's like, what's been happening? Like, she literally said after, you know what happened in Vienna?
No.
So basically, there was like a terror attack plot,
with
and
the
she
Taylor
had to cancel
Smith
the shows.
Event. Yes, I do know about that.
So she was very silent about that, and then after she was completely done with the European leg of the tour, she put out a post that was like, sometimes silence means that you're still moving, but you have to just be silent so that you can get things done.
Interesting.
And it's like, she literally said this, guys. She said it. She told everyone that this is what she was doing. So it just shows you that, like, people on the internet need this immediacy, and it's just like nobody can just like trust anymore, which I think is just really sad.
It took a statement, but it's a powerful statement.
Powerful.
I think it could potentially, if there are people under 27 years old in the swing states who are undecided, I think if it could bring a few people into the polls that weren't going to vote in the first place. Like, she even went to the trouble of saying it's so much easier to vote early voting.
Yeah.
So this was a well-structured campaign. I think it's fascinating and wonderful because it's aligned with a position I agree with, Veronica. But what does concern me a little bit about this is the linkage between celebrities and politics. Not new, goes back to Frank Sinatra. Beyonce performed for Hillary Clinton. This is not new. But what happened last night was such a grand slam home run out of the park.
Yeah.
That it's almost like is there too much power in the celebrity as it faces politics?
My God, no, there's no question about that.
I
There's
don't
too
have
much power.
I don't necessarily have the answer to that question. Maybe there is.
Dad, there is. The fact that this whole presidential debate happened, and the news story today, at least on my timeline, is Taylor Swift endorses Kamala Harris. Like, there you go. Like, it just shows you how it's become, I think it all started a lot, like, especially the social media of it all, I think has really skewed a lot of things.
Yeah.
But, you know, when people are like, Oprah for president and, like, all these celebrities for president, it's like, I don't think people know what politicians are anymore. And
well, one politician said...
Well, wait, Dad, I have to tell you one more thing that happened. Trump was on Fox and Friends this morning.
We should try to wrap up, but what happened on Fox and Friends?
Trump commented on Taylor.
Okay, and said?
He said, it was just a question of time. She couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. Trump said, clarifying that he is not a Taylor Swift fan, but quote, she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Trump also made comment that he likes Brittany Mahomes much better and said she's a big Trump fan.
So there you have it. People are picking their sides, and we're screaming at each other from different corners of the room. I don't know if it's healthier or not, but yeah.
What are your feelings on the Harris campaign wanting a second debate? What's that strategy?
The strategy is he'll decline it and look weak.
Okay. Interesting.
That would be my perception of it. This has been a very interesting conversation, Veronica. At New Charlie Stern on Instagram. I love it when people tune in, follow, like, share, get on YouTube, put in a comment, because we will respond to your comment, and we appreciate every single person that tunes in.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.